Good morning, motherfuckers. Let me be the first to tell you. Lindsey Graham is gone, y'all. I'm filming this at like 1:20 in the morning, but his Twitter just released a statement saying, on the evening of Saturday, July 11th, U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham passed away from a brief and sudden illness. So, yeah, if and you would, why don't you go ahead and join me for a celebratory garden salad stick? We smoking that Lindsey Graham pack tonight. Or morning, whenever you seeing this shit. Start your day, end it, I don't give a fuck. You gonna do it with a smile. At least I am. I know some of y'all that seeing this are probably gonna be pretty pissed at me, but you know what I don't give a fuck. And you know what Lindsey Graham ain't gonna do? Wake up tomorrow to care about it. And they say nothing good happens after midnight. I beg to differ. Getting this news was great. Anyways, y'all have you a wonderful evening, morning, whatever the fuck. Just do me one favor. Keep the motherfucking boots out of your motherfucking mouth, and remember that the golden rule will always remain yeehaw fucked along. Love y'all. See you down the line.
Republican Senator Lindsey Graham just died. I'm sitting here right now, it's like 11 p.m. at night, I'm just chilling watching TV, and I just saw the news that Lindsey Graham has just passed away. To put this in perspective, guys, Lindsey Graham was one of the most pro-Israel warmongering politicians of all time. He actively cheered on what Israel has done and what they're still doing to Palestinians. He also supported the Iraq War, which took the lives of millions of innocent civilians, and also he was cheering on this war on Iran as well. Lindsey Graham was a terrible person and a terrible, terrible politician, just a bad guy all around. And I also just want to say this too, okay? For all these other politicians in Congress who support all these like horrific war crimes going on, right? Because, you know, most American politicians are imperialists. Your legacy, you will be remembered as a war criminal. Not a good person at all whatsoever. You will be remembered as a terrible, terrible person. So you should probably make better decisions. That's all I'm gonna say. Anyways, good night, guys.
You know what we get when we continue to sympathize with oppressors? Fucking Nazis. One of the biggest reasons why we are back in this situation now and that shit didn't end after World War II is because we did not put out the punishments that people needed at the time to realize that this shit will not fucking happen. So I made a video earlier and it got removed for violating community guidelines because I announced the passing of Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham was not a good person, just like Charlie Kirk was not a good person. And the fact that as soon as these people unalive, we have to be like, oh no, thoughts and prayers, like we're so sorry. No, you spent your entire life fucking hurting people. You didn't care when kids were dying because of the bad policies it made. You didn't care that you fucked up so much for all of us, but we were supposed to give a fuck now. I don't care that he had friends and family. I don't give a fuck. You know who else had friends and family? The fucking people that had been shot in the street by ICE, people that had been abducted by fucking ICE, and all of that was partially made possible because of him. Do not for a second forget what these bastards have done, and I don't give them any grace, sympathy, or empathy. Fuck them, and fuck you.
You guys, I've been out of town, so I haven't been posting, as you know, but like Lindsey Graham went to hell. Lindsey Graham went to hell. That was incredibly sudden. I don't even know what happened. He was like fine last week. Didn't he just win the South Carolina primary again? And you know what? He's not even gonna get to see the destruction through of Iran like he always dreamed. He always wanted to finish seeing all the destruction, all the wars, all the violence that he supports and cheers for, all the regime change, all the misery that people like him have caused for decades, and the havoc that they've wreaked on the Middle East. Oh, he's not going to get to see it through. I mean, he can, but he's going to be looking up from hell. I don't even know what happened, but yeah, like I said, I've been offline because of the fact that I've been at it. So yeah. Good riddance to one of probably the worst people in politics over the last 50 years. He had no family. The only legacy he'll leave is death and destruction, and no one will miss him.
Lindsey Graham is dead. And there's going to be a lot of posts from Democrats who are playing in respectability politics, saying he was a worthy opponent, a statesman. I'm sorry, that man has always been a monster. Even if you go back as far as 2013, he was introducing legislation that would have kicked 20 million Americans off of their health care. He has tried a couple times to enact a national abortion ban, even though he says it's up to the states. And let's not forget this. Do you remember when Dylan Roof walked into that church and gunned down 9 Americans. Do you know who came out in defense of the Confederate flag? It was Lindsey Graham. He said it was part of who we are. And then a week later, he had to backtrack because of the backlash. He is a co-sponsor of the Save America Act, which would disenfranchise millions of Americans. And he has tried this not once, but twice, just so you know. So he doesn't want all Americans to vote. He said systemic racism doesn't exist, and he used Kamala Harris and Barack Obama as examples. He said that black South Carolinians are free to travel wherever throughout the state as long as they are Republicans. This man has always been a monster.
Lindsey Graham died last night. He was an absolute scoundrel. But I'm not going to celebrate his death. I'm not going to mourn it either, because he objectively left the world a worse place. I gotta be honest, Lindsey Graham wasn't always evil. He was simply, in the past, a politician I strongly disagreed with about 85% of the time. But then Donald Trump came on the scene and he lost his moral compass, lost his ethical compass, and decided, for purposes of more power, more influence, and probably more money, to embrace Donald Trump, even though it was clear he was an authoritarian figure. But when someone like that dies at the age of 71, I'm going to be 70 this month. I'm not going to live forever. And when someone like that dies, I think about what I want to be known for. And I want to be known for leaving the world just a little bit better. It's super important to me not to leave the world a worse off place, really worse off, like Lindsey Graham. And there's this age-old battle. You can go back to the Greeks, Plato. You can go back to Dostoevsky. You can go back to the Bible. You can go back to Leo DeRocha. Nice guys finished last. The people who are scoundrels, who break the rules, who lose their morals and ethics, frequently benefit more than people who don't, who keep the straight and narrow. I know I'm not perfect, and I've led, by just about every measure, a successful life. But the reality is, if I had been, and if I were more like Lindsey Graham, I'd likely have more money, and I'd likely be more powerful. So why live a moral, ethical life? Why not be more like Lindsey Graham and less like, not that I want to brag about myself, but I will, less like me? And I think the answer is more than a moral obligation. It's because if everyone in the world is like Lindsey Graham, if everyone in the world is like Donald Trump, the world ceases to function. It becomes complete chaos. The world becomes like Somalia, where there are a few warlords and everyone else is in misery. I don't know if this is satisfying or not, but you do what you do. You don't become a Lindsey Graham or a Donald Trump, because you know what? You're taking one for the team.
So Americans are all waking up to the news that Lindsey Graham passed away, and I have a lot of thoughts. He is most assuredly looking up at us right now. The man was evil. The man was out for himself. I don't know that anyone has a kind word to say about it. I'm already seeing comment sections filled up with, those NDAs got to be expired now. Surely there's a pool boy somewhere who wants to come forward and tell us all the details. It is a pretty open secret in Washington that Lindsey Graham was not only gay or bi, I don't know, the guy can't tell us anymore exactly how he identified, but that he was also a big fan of hiring rent boys. I'm sure, now that he's passed, there's going to be people who come out of the woodwork to tell us all the gory details about their life with Lindsey. This is the part that I'm having a lot of problems trying to figure out how I feel about, because on the one hand, sure, he's an evil bad guy that did evil bad things to fellow queer people in the name of holding on to what shreds of power he could. It's history, it's queer history, and I guess knowing the fullness of his life and the fullness of his hypocrisy is probably helpful to us having a greater understanding of who he was as a person and how people like him shape American politics. I just feel like all of the wrong people are gonna delight in that information, and I don't want them to have it. Even though Lindsey was evil. I don't know, I'm kind of the mind right now in this moment in the morning where I don't think I want any of that information to come out. I don't know, I've lived through the outing of a number of these hypocritical conservative politicians, and what happens in media in the days and weeks afterwards always sucks. It just always sucks, because even though he was an evil person, kinds of homophobia that everyone everywhere suddenly engages with, like people who are normally pretty cool with the queer community, have been holding on to some doozies, and they are all about to unleash them. And there's a part of me that just doesn't want to give everyone everywhere ammunition. If I can be hypocritical for a second, I do think the queer community gets to laugh about this. Like, I can't wait to see what kinds of comedy we make out of it, but I don't think anybody else should get to say anything. I feel like all of the wrong people will take all of the wrong stuff away from something like that. I'm hoping that the current heat wave we're in, jaws of hell opening up for a threefer. Thank you, goodbye.
Waking up to this news was like Christmas morning, but even fucking better. And if you think that I am cruel for saying that shit, I don't care. I will stand 10 toes down on it. Because this is the same man who said that he not only supports Israel, but he actively hopes they level Gaza, just like America did with Hiroshima. And that is only the tip of the iceberg of the horrible fucking shit this person has said and done over his career in politics. So anyway, yeah, he can rest in piss. He can rest in piss.
So it turns out Lindsey Graham is dead. And I just want to say one thing with respect to him and Ukraine. For years and years, while Ukrainian kids were dying and the country was under constant Russian war crimes and attacks on civilians, he kept lying and saying and promising that there'll be sanctions against Russia. I'll put it, make sure Trump passes it. And, you know, he knew he was being dishonest the whole time. He knew it. And now he'll never be a part of it. And that's what I'm going to remember him for, his dishonesty with respect to Ukraine and not standing up to Trump. And if it seems harsh, don't be in public life as a senator who does dishonorable things on a regular basis. That's a fact. Ukraine will win, and he won't be able to see it. And all those things he claimed to stand for, they're gone. Because you know what? He never stood for anything. And also, the fact of the matter is, John McCain, who, like Lindsey Graham considered a mentor, he was real. He was a real one. And there's a John McCain street named after him in Kiev because he was honorable. There will never be a Lindsey Graham street anywhere. Funny how that works out.
Rumor has it that Lindsey Graham may have been assassinated, and he would have been assassinated while he was visiting Ukraine. He would have been assassinated by Russia targeting him. The mainstream report that he died of this sudden illness says that as soon as he got back from Ukraine, he got the sudden disease and died. So I think it is quite likely that he could have been targeted, and he was, energetic, and he seemed to be normal before he died suddenly. He was just going about doing his normal Zionist garbage all over the world and on the media. So I think there could be good reason to think that he was assassinated. And if that's the case, I would be one happy person, because as you probably know, I support a really heavy-handed approach towards the Zionists, and I think it should be cold, clean, and mean. Now, this could also be in response to Trump's threats to Iran that he was going to go on an all-in war and essentially destroy Iran. And the reason he doubled down on this was because the Iranian people, during the funeral of Khamenei, which happened just recently, they had these big banners threatening Trump that they were going to take him out. So I think it is wonderful that there are these banners out around, especially Iran. Of course, they're very courageous. They have the freedom to do this. But there are billions of people all over the world who support it, not least of which Americans inside the United States. So I think that would be a wonderful thing. And it is a very clear threat on behalf of the Iran, Russia, and China as well in the back, in their position against Trump, that if he's going to go in on an all-out war, they could take him out. And of course, I think this should be done, and it should also be done to that scum bucket in Israel.
Lindsey Graham, he had a Grindr account. He did. And but rather than Lindsey Graham as his name, he had it as Brad, I think. Yeah. So I'm going to let you pause and read this. Pause and read this again. Okay. Yeah. And note, he said that those were his little ladybugs. Yeah. His little ladybugs. Bitch, please. So today, the Grindr Corporation decided to put their flag at half-mast. Yes. Because Lindsey Graham had an account on their app. And don't forget, Lindsey Graham was not married. The number of NDAs that cannot hold these gay guys back anymore. Oh my God, they're going to be on so many talk shows now. It's going to be ridiculous. It is. And one thing that I've learned from nurses is that when someone dies, it usually comes in threes. So now that Mr. Ladybugs has passed away, I'm wondering, is it going to be the prehistoric turtle? Or will it be the orange with the yellow toupee? They've been keeping that prehistoric turtle on life support. And those cankles and the bruising of the orange with the yellow toupee, it ain't getting any better. Not to mention that Alzheimer's is a bitch. I don't know. Which one do you think is going to go first in this round of 3?
If you haven't seen yet, Lindsey Graham passed away tonight. I did already post about this. We don't really know what happened. It said a sudden and brief illness. A cardiac arrest was reported at his house. It said he had just returned from Ukraine. I don't know how recent that was. Like, maybe it was a blood clot from traveling. That is pure speculation. We don't know. But because of that, I worry about what comes next. There is a Democrat. He was up for re-election this year. There is a Democrat running against him, or was, Annie Andrews. She's a pediatrician. I don't know who they will replace him with. I assume he already won the Republican primary. Basically, my point is it could get worse. I know there are Democrats in South Carolina, but, like, are there enough? Not sure. You know, as Trumpy as he's been since John McCain died, he still, you know, at least advocated for Ukraine. He was on the right side there. And I think, I don't know, I always, like, kind of held out hope that sometimes he would do the right thing based on, like, how he used to act. And that didn't often prove true. But with Ukraine, at least, you know, there was that. So I'm just worried about how much worse it could get, because it definitely could get worse. Anyway, my thoughts go out to his friends and family.